Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle, and this is my latest episode of New Music Weekly, the show where I give you guys the top 5 prog news headlines for the week, introduce you guys to some new prog singles, and give you updates on the channel and what's happening here on Nathan on Shuffle. And I'm excited to talk to you guys today. It's October 21st, 2023 at the time of filming and release of this video. I'm really excited because I took last week off, mostly because there just wasn't a lot of news items. I just didn't feel like I had enough to really give a full detailed show, and I felt like it would be better to hold off and do a bigger show the next week that could incorporate items from both weeks. And I think it's worked out pretty well because I have a pretty hefty list of items to talk about today that I'm excited to get through, some quick hits. So it's a little bit of an expanded list today. I have more than 5 items, but I'm really excited to get into it and talk to you guys. And really excited about the week on the channel and how things are progressing here. And so thank you guys so much for your support and all the comments on my recent videos and helping me through working out some of the things that I've been talking through and working out on the show. So much appreciated, and let's dive into the news, right? So first item on the news, Prog news headline list, we've got some new releases this weekend that I'm excited about. So 2 that I want to spotlight, and I'm sure there's many others, and you guys could mention them in the comments. Anything from the past 2 weeks is valid, but for me, my 2 favorite releases that came out this weekend are first District 97's Stay for the Ending. This is a Chicago-based prog group, heavy prog, a little bit of progressive metal, some eclectic prog stuff, not unlike King Crimson, but with a wonderful female vocalist, Leslie Hunt. One of my favorite groups, and this is their 5th album. Really excited to talk about it in more depth. I'm going to be doing a review of it this week, so I'll be talking more then. But a marvelous, brilliant album that I think puts the band on a whole new level compared to their last couple releases. So really excited to get into that and recommend checking that one out. Also, a really interesting release, Lalu, The Fish Who Wanted to Be King. This is a project founded by French composer and producer Vivian Lalu. And it's morphed into more of a prog band when originally it maybe was a bit more heavier prog metal type stuff. But it's full-blown prog, headed by frontman Damian Wilson on vocals, who does an incredible job, and it may be a little bit of an 80s tinged flavor, a bit more of a modern progressive metal feel baked in a little bit as well, but a lot of great progressive rock. Their previous album, Paint the Sky, was one of my favorites last year. I talked about it a bit on the channel, so I'm excited to dive into this one as well. And very well could be getting a review. I haven't locked it into the schedule yet because there's a lot coming up, and I don't want to guarantee that it'll be coming, but I'll be talking about it for sure in some capacity, and it's very possible that I'll be doing a review of it. So another great album to check out for fans of progressive rock. Definitely high on the list for me for recommending albums. Next, we get into item number 2, which is Peter Gabriel revealing his release date and final track listing for his new album, I.O., which has been slow-rolled throughout the year. He's been releasing songs about once a month based on the cycle of the moon and things like that. So it's really cool that they're going to be all compiled basically onto his full-length record, releasing on December 1st. So it includes 12 tracks that have been released through the course of the year in a specific track listing, and of course there's all kinds of pre-orders going on right now for all different varieties of this record. I believe there's some LP versions, there's double CD and Blu-ray. Basically there's 2 versions of the album, 2 different makes, the Bright Side makes and the Dark Side makes, which have been coming out throughout the year as well, 2 different versions of the same singles. And apparently there's a 3rd version, the Inside makes, in Dolby Atmos, that's going to be on that Blu-ray edition if you get that. So the 2 CDs are, of course, 1 CD for the Bright Side makes, 1 CD for the Dark Side makes, and then a Blu-ray that has that 3rd makes, that has that Dolby Atmos sound and all that stuff. And then 2 LPs also that deal with the different mixes. So really interesting stuff. I'm excited for Peter Gabriel's release. I was listening to the singles in the first part of the year, but started to lose a little bit of interest because there were so many coming out and there's a lot of other singles, and I thought it would be nice to save some of the tracks at least for the full album, because I'm more of an album guy than a singles guy, as is probably easy to believe with how I cover things on the channel. So I've really been more excited to wait for the album proper. So many of the tracks I haven't heard yet, but it'll definitely be an album I'll cover on the channel since it's such a big, notable release from a prog artist or prog-related artist. Peter Gabriel, of course, had an amazing run with Genesis, their prime prog years, and has had an illustrious solo career as well. So it'll be fun to talk a bit more about Peter Gabriel as this album comes out, a hotly anticipated album that he's already been touring, and most of the songs have already been released, but it should still be cool to get it all compiled into a full-length album. So item number 3, Magenta's Robert Reed and Camel's Peter Jones join forces again for a new Cyan album. This is a little bit almost of a supergroup project in some ways from these different prog artists. Rob Reed, who of course has been part of Magenta, Peter Jones, who's done his own stuff with Tiger Moth Tales, which just had a recent release also, and has been part of Camel in the past as well. You got Luke Machin on guitars. Dan Nelson is in the mix here. So you got a great lineup of some really cool prog musicians, and they're recording these Cyan albums. The first one came out, I believe, a couple years ago for King and Country is the name of that release, the first Cyan album, which, if I remember right, these were albums that Rob Reed recorded earlier, like much earlier, in an early incarnation of this, like maybe in the early 90s or something like that. And so this is the second one that they're re-recording for this new lineup. So this is music that has existed, that Rob Reed was a part of in his early days as he was getting his material out there. But now they're re-recording it with this new lineup in a new, more refreshed fashion, and it should be a really cool album that I'm looking forward to talking about on the channel. Another one that's very likely to get a review here. It's due out November 17th, consisting of 6 songs, including the epic 17-minute track Nosferatu. The CD package is accompanied by a DVD, including a 5.1 surround mix and a live acoustic performance of songs from their previous album for King and Country. And their opening track, Broken Man, is available to view on YouTube, which will be part of the Prague Singles list, so I'll revisit it there, and you can see the link to it in the description. So should be cool, just classic prog stuff with some great vocals and some great instrumentation from the band. Should be a really cool project that I'm excited for and should sound really pristine and nice. Item number 4, Devin Townsend announces a new podcast with InsideOutMusic. The Devin Townsend podcast today, new direction. I believe he's had a podcast before, but this is almost a relaunched, refreshed version, available both as an audio and a visual version. Basically just Devin Townsend's way to talk through some of his new material and stuff that he's dealing with as an artist. I believe the first episode is out, titled Synesthesia, so that should be something interesting. He's talked about it as he explains. It's a monthly series of observations about the process of writing and creating music, presented by InsideOutMusic. This new version of the podcast shifts focus slightly, moves on from simply talking about past records and instead focusing on a real-time observation of the next ones. So a way for him to talk through some of the upcoming albums and his process and the creative process that he goes through. So even though I'm not a huge fan of a lot of Devin's material, because a lot of it's very heavy and metal stuff that has those growling vocals and extreme metal type stuff, I am fascinated by him as an artist because he's just such a absolutely creative guy who does a lot of cool stuff. And I do like a lot of different parts of his work. I really liked Light Work that came out, I believe, either last year or the year before. I think it was last year. And I did like Empath as well, even though it had bits of those heavier sections. So I'm still like slowly delving into his musical world, but I'm fascinated by his creativity and his process. So I think that should be a cool podcast. It's always cool to get into the minds of these artists who are creating this music. I'm always fascinated about that. Item number 5, Opeth are reissuing Damnation on vinyl for their 20th anniversary of the album. The album was released in 2003, so now it's being reissued through Music for Nations Records on December 15th. I believe it was remixed and released as a companion album to Deliverance. These were albums that were released around the same time and showcased two sides of Opeth's sound, Damnation being the more lighter, acoustic, folkier side, and Deliverance being more of the heavier, more heavy metal type side of their sound. They're more extreme. And so you get a cool blend of their, not a blend obviously because they're separated, but you get the two sides of the coin there of their sound. And I thought it was a fascinating experiment and created two really exciting records from them. So it's cool that Damnation is getting this reissue and release, because apparently it's hard to find their albums sometimes on vinyl because people just snatch them up so quickly because these albums are so popular. So it'll be cool to see this one reissued in this fashion to celebrate one of my favorite Opeth records, because as I'm talking through in this episode, it seems to be a theme. I'm more into their lighter, more acoustic, folkier sound. Their more prog direction that they've gone into. Some of the more extreme metal passages just are a little bit over the top for me, and I don't really like the heavy vocals. Although, if anyone does it, like, they probably do it the best of anyone that I've heard, because I just really respect Michael Ackerfeld and his approach, and I think he has a really great technique. But just to my ears, I really like the sound of Damnation, and I think it has a really cool vibe. It was mixed by Steven Wilson and just has that really pristine sound that he brings to the table. So this 20th anniversary version has the 2015 remix and remaster pressed on standard black vinyl, as well as being available on deluxe and limited color finishes, and for the very first time available as an exclusive picture disc. So a lot of different formats and styles for this vinyl release. Should be fun. I believe there's pre-orders out on Opeth's site, on O-Merch, and will hopefully be populating in other places as well. So that's something to be excited for. And like I said, some bonusy items here. A couple more things I wanted to get through. Spock, Spirit, and Pain of Salvation are headlining Midwinter Prague Festival in 2024. This is happening in the Netherlands, Saturday, February 3rd. Great lineup. You know, Spock, Spirit, of course, it's notable because they haven't performed live in quite some time. I don't think since before the pandemic. And so it's been very quiet in the Spock Spirit camp since the release of their previous album Noise Floor in 2018, and the touring has quieted down and hasn't been happening. They had a date or a tour or something, a smattering of dates, I believe, that ended up getting canceled, or maybe it was a festival appearance. I just remember there was an unfortunate circumstance that they weren't able to go through with a scheduled concert. But this one seems a lot more locked in, and have Pain of Salvation right there is another great, incredible progressive metal band that I absolutely love too. And they're being supported by a bunch of really cool other bands. Lazuli, French prog, that is really notable. Modern prog metal supergroup Temek, who are releasing their debut album and features Eric Gillette from Neil Morse band, as well as Diego Tejeda from formerly of Haken. So a little bit of a almost super group assembly of prog metal musicians. And one of my favorite bands too, Mir, are on the bill as well, a Norwegian art rock band that were my pick for my favorite album of 2021, I believe. So really cool lineup of musicians that I want to mention, and especially seeing Spock's Beard having a scheduled live date is exciting to know that they're continuing. There's always a lot of fear from my end that they're going to call it quits and call it a day at some point, but good to see they're continuing forward and at least are going to be performing live here in February, so that should be cool. Tool announced a new U.S. tour as well, coming through North America, starting in Baltimore January 10th and ending in Las Vegas, Nevada in February 18th. And it seems like there's more dates later in the year as well, so a big North American tour. Elder is their supporting act, which I thought was really cool. Elder's a band that I really love, a more doomy stoner metal type stuff, but with progressive flair. A really excellent band, and should be an excellent complement to Tool on their live dates. So I'm excited about that. They're even coming pretty close to my neck of the woods. Whether I go or not is up in the air because I have a lot going on around that time. But should be a cool experience for anyone that can catch Tool on tour. No Man is releasing a couple of interesting collections, Housekeeping and Swagger collections. This is a duo of Steven Wilson and Tim Bonus. Housekeeping is a comprehensive remastered collection of No Man's output for the OLI label between 1990 and 1994. So that should be cool, featuring the band's first 2 albums along with some singles compilations. It's a deluxe 5 CD earbook containing outtakes, alternate versions, the band sessions for BBC Radio. So a lot of cool material there, containing a lot of their electronic type music that they're known for. And Housekeeping is launched simultaneously with Swagger, Lost Not Lost Volume 1, 1989-1990. Swagger chronicles the in-between period that came after the initial studio experiments from 1987-1988 and prior to their signing their first record deal in 1991. So you're getting a little bit of this mid-period of the band and getting some of these cool material there, containing 45 minutes of music, including 6 unreleased songs and 3 early versions of pieces that ended up on later releases. Should be available on CD, LP, and limited edition cassette. So cool collections there. Should be fun to check those out if you're a fan of Steven Wilson and Tim Bonus and their No Man project. And then I wanted to briefly mention, maybe a little bit outside of Prague in particular, but impacting the music world, is that half of Bandcamp's staff apparently were laid off this past week, which is a really unfortunate thing that's happened. Bandcamp is a platform that a lot of bands that I cover are on, and a great way for them to get the money they deserve for the releases that they put out there, when of course a lot of the streaming services don't pay artists fairly in a lot of ways. So Bandcamp is a good way for artists to release their music digitally, and of course they can also release physical versions that you can order on their Bandcamps as well. It's been an interesting evolution for Bandcamp, and a lot of people are afraid of this move and that it's spelling some bad things in the future for Bandcamp and what it might mean. They were sold to, I think it was Epic Games 18 months ago, maker of the hit video game Fortnite. They acquired the company of Bandcamp, which was quite a controversial thing that people were a little bit nervous about. And now they're acquired by the B2B service Songtradr, and apparently they made the move to lay off 50% of the workforce, which is unfortunate. They say in a statement, over the past few years, the operating costs of Bandcamp have significantly increased and required some adjustments to ensure a sustainable and healthy company that can serve its community of artists and fans. After a comprehensive evaluation, including the importance of roles for smooth business operations and pre-existing functions at Songtradr, 50% of Bandcamp employees have accepted offers to join Songtradr. So we're committed to keeping the existing Bandcamp services that fans and artists love, including its artist first revenue share, Bandcamp Fridays and Bandcamp Daily. We are looking forward to welcoming Bandcamp into our musically aligned community. We share a deep passion for all things music and will continue to serve artists, labels, and the fans who make it all possible. So just an interesting little note that should be interesting to follow. So moving on to the Prague Singles list, I've got District 97's Stay for the Ending on my list, which, as I mentioned, was one of the albums that came out this weekend, so it gives a good indication of what the album sounds like if you want a little taste of it. It's the opening title track, so really cool, punchy Prague song there that I think you guys will like. Cyan, as I mentioned in the Prague headlines, their first track from their upcoming album, Broken Man, is available to watch on YouTube, so that will be linked below as well. DiVirgilio, Morse, and Jennings have a new single called Tiny Little Fires. This is more of their folk rock project that they've been doing. 3 titans of progressive rock, as has been said in the press release. Love these 3 musicians, love what they do as a trio. Definitely not considered prog at all, but definitely still worthy to note for progressive rock fans because of the people involved in the project, and just really beautiful acoustic folk rock that's a lot of fun to listen to. So I definitely recommend that. Dave Kersner has a new track out, Eye of the Storm, coming from his new solo album, Heartland Mines Volume 1. Which just came out as well, so that's another new release to check out. I believe you can find that on I believe you can find that on Bandcamp to order if you're interested as CD or a digital download. And I believe there's an EP out on streaming where you can check out some of the tracks on streaming as well. So should be a cool release. Dave Kersner is a really prolific, cool progressive rock artist who has some interesting material. And then I'm putting the Mommy Heads on my list here with their song Coney Island Kid. This is the title track from their latest album. Maybe more prog adjacent than fully blown prog. A little bit more of that indie style prog. Pop prog, maybe you could call it. But really quirky, really cool, and really fun record. And a great song that personifies it. So definitely worth checking out if you're interested in something like that. So that's my list of prog news. Pretty expansive, a lot of stuff going on. Hopefully you enjoyed the rundown today. I know the episode's a little longer probably than usual. As for the channel this week, I felt it went really well. Like I said, I did a little bit of experimenting, maybe not my typical formats this week. I did a typical Prog Song Sunday with Jana, though, talking about Jethro Tull's Baker Street Muse. Really great track, a 16-minute epic that we really enjoyed getting into. So Jana had some fun reactions to that. I did 15 more of the albums that changed my life. I did a 10 albums that changed my life video a few weeks back, but I felt like there were a lot more albums to cover that I really wanted to get into. And I felt it was just a fun way, after feeling a little bit with some of my recent reviews, some of the comments, maybe people don't care for some of those albums. I was trying to just have an episode where I just talked about something I loved and to not worry about, people's commentary and stuff. So that was what that was, and a lot of people seem to like that. Great window into my musical journey and my musical taste. And then I did a rant video, first time I've ever done something like that, where I rant about a topic that means a lot to me, basically boiling down to that I think it needs to be more accepted that it's okay to like things, It's okay to be a fan of something and to express that you like it without having people tear it down and tear you apart. But of course, it's also on the flip side okay to not like things if it's just not to your taste, but you have to respect people's taste and not state it as objective truth of this is terrible. So it's a lot to get into. I don't need to address it here, but really sparked by some of the commentary I saw on the new Steven Wilson record and how some people were tearing it apart, and I felt like it was a little bit unjustified. So hopefully you don't find that too whiny or too, I don't know, the tone's a little bit weird. I just wanted to get some things off my chest, I guess, and talk about some things that have been on my mind. So I had a lot of fun with it, and I've gotten so many great supportive comments on it, and it's just been such a wonderful experience. It really did help refresh me and make me feel a little better coming on and being able to do these videos for you guys. So, and coming up this week, two reviews that I really am excited about, two of my favorite albums that I want to talk about from this year. One is Pattern Seeking Animals, Spooky Action at a Distance, which I've been loving. That album comes out next Friday, so I want to give you guys a taste of it before it officially drops. And the new District 97, as I mentioned, Stay for the Ending. I absolutely love the band, and I think they've really knocked it out of the park here. So a lot to enjoy, a lot to look forward to. Thank you for joining me on this episode, and hopefully you found some news items that were interesting to you. Let me know in the comments anything I missed or that you found especially notable this week, and I'd love to hear from you. So thank you guys so much for the support once again, and just keep enjoying the music, everybody. Bye!